Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Red Dead Redemption 2 video, I'm going to be walking from Annesburg to Tumbleweed in a full Red Dead Online lobby. So I was actually inspired to do this when I saw a post on the Red Dead Online Reddit from a user, madapplepi. I'll leave a link to that thread in the description, and that's exactly what that user ended up doing. And they ended up sharing their results, and I was super interested by this experiment that I wanted to try it for myself, and that's what I'm going to be doing with you guys today. So first things first, I wanted to make sure I had some essentials. So I went to the general store, I bought some provisions, some tonics, some things that would replenish my deadeye, my stamina, my health. I just wanted to make sure I was good to go in case anything came up. Now the route I was going to end up taking, there is a quicker way to go about doing this. If you just went like a straight diagonal line from Annesburg to Tumbleweed, you could do so a little bit quicker. But I wanted to interact with the world, and I wanted to go to the most populated cities. So the route I ended up taking was Annesburg to Van Horn, and then we would drop down to Saint Denis Roads, Emerald Station, and then up to Valentine, back down to Strawberry, Blackwater, and then Armadillo and Tumbleweed. So that was sort of the route I was taking, a little bit wavy, but I wanted to make sure I was interacting with the world. Now, I set a couple of rules for myself. Number one, I would not stop unless I found something interesting. So what would that be? That would be like an animal to hunt, or if I encountered someone in the world, or if there was just something interesting like a gang hideout, or there was an ambush that was occurred. And number two, I was going to make sure that I was always peaceful. I was going to leave it up to anyone that I encountered to either be friendly or violent. And I felt that to be pretty fun. So I started on my journey in Annesburg, and for the first part of this, there was like no one up here. And that's not shocking. I rarely see anyone in Annesburg. I rarely see anyone in Van Horn. So for the first part of this journey, it was honestly pretty boring. Anytime I saw an animal that was fairly close to my route, I would go ahead and hunt it, because one thing I did want to do is I wanted to make sure I was at least able to pay for the fees that were going to come up with this, because I think it's like every day you get stable fees, you get camp relocation, moving fees, and I certainly wanted to pay for that in at least a little bit of a way. So if I came across an animal, I would hunt it. And that was pretty straightforward. Didn't find much on our way from Annesburg to Van Horn. Van Horn, again, is a pretty lackluster town. There is not a whole lot going on there. And like I said, for the most part, the first, I'd say 10 or 15 minutes of me walking were really, really boring. There was not a whole lot going on throughout the world. And then we actually made it to Saint Denis. And Saint Denis was a little bit less boring. As soon as I ended up getting here, I noticed that my heavy coat outfit that I was wearing in Annesburg and Van Horn was much too hot for this humid climate. So I ended up having to switch. And as I did that, I noticed that there were these exotic birds, which if you've watched any of my latest money-making videos, these exotic birds are like the best way to go, like the heron plumes, spoonbills, stuff like that. So I ended up hunting them really quickly. They weren't too far out of the way, and that was pretty simple. Now, I was actually kind of shocked that there weren't any other players in Saint Denis. Usually Saint Denis is good for having at least 2 or 3 people, but there was no one in Saint Denis. And I was kind of shocked by that. So I didn't really have any stores to stop in or anything like that. So I just continued on my way, and we started heading towards Rhodes. And on the way to Rhodes, I actually encountered my first set of other players, which was kind of exciting. I was interested to see how this was going to pan out. And I'm actually not too sure what these guys were doing. They were hanging out in like the old Civil War battlefield. And I went up to them, I said hello, and both of them seemed very friendly. And something I've noticed is that if you're friendly to other players, you'll get a lot of posse invites. You'll start to see that throughout this video, that every time I waved or nodded my head at another player, I'd always tend to get a posse invite. So I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised at how genuinely nice everyone was on this journey. Now, I ended up going my separate way, but as I was making my way to Rhodes, I noticed that the people that I had just interacted with were being attacked by wolves. So I felt that it was my duty to end up helping them out, and I ended up killing the wolves, putting a pelt on the back of my horse, and also putting a pelt on the back of the person that I just helped. And then, of course, we went on our separate ways. It was a very wholesome encounter. So far, I was very impressed with the So far, I was very impressed with the interactions that I had had so far. And then when I eventually did make it to Rhodes, I wanted to stop at the butcher, sell everything I had acquired from Saint Denis and Van Horn, and I obviously wanted to get rid of that big wolf pelt on the back. I didn't worry about putting most animal parts that would have to be like on the back of my horse because I was afraid someone would, kill my horse or it would despawn, and then that would have been a little bit worthless. So I was really just prioritizing on things I could put in my satchel. So overall, like the first day in game of doing this was pretty straightforward and pretty easy. So my next stop after that was going to be to Emerald Station. And on my way to Emerald Station, I ran into this guy in the woods who I think was occupying some NPC's campfire. And I said hello to him. I stopped at the campfire, but realized I had sold all of my goods. So I unfortunately was not able to craft anything. And this guy was like following me on my journey. I don't think he was too sure of what I was actually doing. I wasn't on the in-game microphone talking to anyone, so I wasn't explaining to them, hey, I'm going from point A to point B. So we eventually did go our separate ways, but we'll actually see that guy a little bit later on, which is kind of fun. So it is cool to see people you experience in the world multiple different times. So from there, we made our way to Emerald Ranch. I figured that this would be a sort of populated area, and it turns out that was exactly the case. I think a train had just gone through here, and it turns out that a lot of people were there too. And I ended up getting killed for the first time today by none other than noob__killer ZZ69. That's the first guy who killed me today. Not really all that shocking right there. That was kind of a shoot-on-sight guy. And I thought I was going to get killed again, and it turns out that this guy is just, or someone in his posse is a really bad shot. I was like standing still waving to them, and they still couldn't kill me. So that was Emerald Ranch right there. It was pretty exciting, I guess you could say. There wasn't a whole lot going on there, and the one person I really did interact with, they ended up shooting me. So that was a first. A few hours later in-game, we were able to trot our way to Valentine, and that's where we ended up next. And I figured that Valentine would be filled with lots of interesting people. It was almost becoming daytime, about 4 in the morning, and I encountered these two guys on the road, and I stopped to say hello to them, and I was immediately shot in the face with a pump-action shotgun. I guess I should have seen that coming, and I did not want our encounter to end that way. I was being friendly, and I just feel like they didn't see my friendly nature. And so I ended up encountering them again, and I thought I was going to get shot again. But I started waving, and this guy, L992Chewy355, ended up stopped shooting at me. I guess he realized his wrong ways, and we ended up becoming friends. And I ended up helping him out too. His horse looks like it needed a revive, and I gave it a revive. So enemies become friends, and we both went our separate ways. So that was my journey in Valentine. I wanted to do a couple things before I ended up moving on to Strawberry. I wanted to go to the butcher one more time, sell what I had, which was not much. I didn't do a ton of hunting on the way there. Honestly, didn't see a lot of animals. I guess that's because I'm, when you're walking on the train tracks, you don't really see a lot of animals. And then I also wanted to take advantage of the stew pot in Valentine, sort of replenish all of my cores. So that's exactly what I did there. And then it was time to head to Strawberry. Now, on my way to Strawberry, I ran into some familiar faces. You guys remember this guy right here? That's actually the guy we shared a campfire with. It looks like he actually just encountered an ambush, which is kind of interesting. So it looks like I got there a little bit late to help him out. And I don't know if this is his friend or if this is someone he just met, but it looks like some meth tweaker was taking a machete to one of the bodies in the middle of the road. It was just a crazy scene. He ended up like disturbing some stagecoach that went through a little bit later. All I know is this was sort of a crazy scenario right here. I'm really not too sure what was going on. And then we ended up going our separate ways after we had a little bit of an accidental tussle. So from there, we made it to Strawberry, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, Strawberry is the most boring town in the entire game. There was literally nothing going on at Strawberry, so I think I stayed here for just about like 5 minutes, and then I ended up moving on. In fact, the most interesting thing that happened here was me getting clotheslined by a horse. That was about it. So from there, we wanted to make our way to Blackwater, and I knew that Blackwater was going to be interesting. There's always the possibility that it is just like Griefer City, And I actually had a very pleasant encounter there. I only really met 2 people in the city of Blackwater, but I gave them a wave. I said hello to them. And once again, I was immediately invited to their posse. So far, I had had more positive experiences on my journey than negative experiences, which is kind of shocking. And it might have just been the lobby I was in, but I think people are generally more inclined to be friendly to others in Red Dead Online, which I think is great news. Now, from there, I think my next stop was going to be the McFarland Ranch. It was on the way to Armadillo, so I said to myself, might as well stop here and see some familiar territory. But on the way there, I actually stopped at someone's camp, and I said hello to them. They were quite friendly. If I had anything to cook, I would have stopped at their fire, but I did not have anything. So we went on our way, and we made our way to the McFarland Ranch. Now, here's where things are going to get boring for the rest of the video, because when you're this far down in New Austin and in the desert, it's pretty rare that you encounter anyone. Like, I haven't seen anyone, especially in Blackwater, since like the start of the game, like the first week, because no one's doing the single player missions anymore. So they don't really have to go to Armadillo or Blackwater, any place like that. So I got to Armadillo as the sun was setting. There was literally nothing going on here. I felt like I was just walking aimlessly and no one interacted with me. I didn't have, anyone come up to me or anything like that. And then it was really to just journey on to our final location today, and that was to head to Tumbleweed. And Tumbleweed was going to be our final destination. And again, I wish I encountered more exciting things here, but unfortunately, that was not the case. Maybe if I had joined another lobby, I would have found that, Tumbleweed and Blackwater and Armadillo would have been a little bit more populated than some of the other cities, but I didn't want to jump to a different lobby. I felt like that would have thrown some things off on my journey. And that was pretty much it. It was like a drama-free last final third leg to the finish line here. And all in all, it was a long trip. I will say that. So I didn't do it continuously. I had to take like a couple 10 or 15 minute breaks in between there. So I'd say the entire journey was like 4 hours in total. I'd say it took me an hour to go from Annesburg to Van Horn and then Saint Denis and Rhodes. Took a little bit of a break. Then we went up to Emerald Station and Valentine, took a little break, and then Strawberry, Blackwater break, and then Armadillo and Tumbleweed. And that was sort of my journey right there, and it was definitely kind of interesting. So what did I end up learning from this entire journey? Well, for starters, the players that I had run into, for the most part, were pretty friendly. Now, a lot of them did have the instinct to shoot on sight, as you saw in a couple scenarios, but for the most part, if you're friendly to other people, they will be friendly to you. I also noticed that I encountered a ton of random wild animals, and I also encountered a lot of plants that I had never picked before, which was great for getting those awards. I don't think I actually earned any awards or unlocked any buckles for travel. It was a long distance, but it wasn't that long enough to unlock anything traveling by foot. I'd already traveled 91 some odd miles by foot. I don't know, how long the entire distance was, but I did progress a few awards, which was quite nice. And overall, I just found that this experience was definitely kind of interesting. There was a couple of dogs that I ran into. There was a couple of ambushes that I ended up happening as well. Probably the most shocking part of this entire bit is I was never disconnected by the server. And I wonder if I just got lucky, like I said, the server I was in, or if Rockstar has really just made improvements since day one, but I never dropped from the server. I think I ended up making $10 or $15 in total. I had 4 or 5 times where I would get the stable fee and my camp moving fee, and that ended up cost me $20 in total, but I think I made more of that by selling stuff to the butcher the couple of times that I visited. So anyways, that right there was my journey from Annesburg to Tumbleweed in a full Red Dead Online lobby. This was a really fun experiment, and I definitely recommend that if you have the time, you guys try something like this as well. It's a great way to sort of do something refreshing and fun in Red Dead Online as we're waiting for Rockstar to add new content into the game. But anyways, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about my journey and the encounters that we had. If you did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily Red Dead Redemption 2 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.